Well, that ain't good. Fuel line's pretty hot. Gonna have to do something about that. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode with LSJess. We've got the 62 Skylark back in the shop here. We're gonna see if we can't button up some of those loose ends, really church this thing up a little bit.
Don't try and church it up, son.
Before it starts getting too cold to drive it here in Idaho. Let's get after it. So I believe I'm running into a fuel vapor lock issue, and because I'm a hoarder and have this old power steering line laying around with the cooler still into it, I think I'm going to end up cutting the cooler out of this line right about here and try to integrate it into the fuel system. Maybe try to access this hole here in the core support, run it that away in front of the radiator, and then we'll just come out this way up and over to the carb. So we'll be splicing in from the pipe to the cooler, through the cooler, back to the carb. We'll see if we can give that a shot. All right, just that quick glance, we can tell that that hole is too small for this to fit through it. So, took a quick measurement. We need about 2.5 inches wide to fit this away, and about 1.5 inches wide to fit this away. So I got to punch that hole out a little bit more.
Do you think maybe he's compensating for something?
Probably punch a second hole right next to it, and hopefully that should give us what we need. All right, you can see we got our hole crudely hogged out there. Had to run it with the drill a couple of times and the file to get it to that shape and size, but the cooler fits nice in there now. So now what we're working on is we're going to be working on taking this little piece of plate that was part of the original floor for the bracing for the original seats, and we're going to be setting it something like that on the inner fender here, and then bending it a 90 degree like this face here, flat, perpendicular to the hole. That way we can use our factory clips from the cooler to mount it to that little bracket. So hopefully this will stay fairly still going down the road. So we work on getting that plate bent up. Pick you up here in a minute. All right, here's what we got. So you can see the cooler kind of dangling in there right now because I can't seem to find anything to cobble a good bracket together.
Your plan is failing, just admit it.
Here's our inlet and outlet, and they just feed back up and around to our feed out of the pump, back into the filter that goes into the carb. I guess we're gonna run this and see if we make a difference. I mean, it's been probably 20 minutes since I shut this thing off, and we're still at 115. So we'll get this stuff cleared off. We'll take it for a drive, and we'll check the temperature again.
You'll do.
See if we got any improvement out of it. All right, as you can see, things escalated. I got sick and tired of trying to find either a giant self-tapper or the
Oh, wow. Wow, congratulations. You managed to string 3 words together in a sentence.
the nut zerts for my tool that's busted, and anyway, whatever. So drug the welder out, just put a freaking tack weld on it, pull on it with the glove. Looks like it's rocking the whole car. Good enough. That should be more than strong enough for what we need. You'll notice that I got through the moving blanket on top of the engine and moved the fuel cooler out from where I was welding because, you know, sparks and boom.
Boom. The end. Start again.
Alright, there you go. Little bracket tack welded on there with a hole drilled for that nut and bolt. High temp Loctite on the nut. Tucked in there by the grill. Should be good to go. Alright, so to help with our coolant system issue, I rented a couple of tools from O'Reilly. This is a pressure tester. It tests both radiator caps. I should have an adapter to fit the actual radiator spout as well. This is part number 67085. Comes with all the adapters and the little pump to apply pressure. As you can see, the needle's already down around 9 pounds or so. I just had it up to 13. And I set it up a couple different ways, make sure it was clocked correctly. As far as I could tell, it was nice and evenly sealed. Pumped it up to 13 pounds, and I've been spraying all the fittings, like at the gauge, at the hose on the pump, at the seal for the adapter for the pump. Now I'm spraying down there at the radiator cap I just bought for the car. So still about 9 pounds. Gonna come in here and fill the cap with soapy water in the spray bottle. You can see that movement. You can see bubbles forming and moving around in there. That cap is leaking. So we'll have to get a warranty cap. That's probably part of our issue. But I still want to do the exhaust gas tester just to be sure. That's 67094. I'm going to use this. I'll get it set up on the radiator there. Alright, allegedly how this works. You leave the radiator cap open, put this blue fluid up to that level, which has already gone down a little bit, and you just run the engine. This is supposed to detect exhaust gases in the radiator, so like if you blow a head gasket. So I'm going to let this run for a few minutes, maybe top off the fluid. Hopefully nothing changes. It's supposed to change color, I think a green color. 140 at the temp sensor, 138 at the top radiator hose, 144 at the lower radiator hose. 150, 155 at the top of the radiator. We're running for almost 10 minutes now. And that fluid is still very, very blue, so that's good. So the other thing I'm going to try to do to help with our foaming and overflowing issues, obviously I'm going to try to install this universal generic tank thinger. Anyway, so it comes with these two big loops on the top here. It's supposed to be able to bend and manipulate, according to the instructions on it anyway. So what I'm kind of thinking is maybe I take that bolt there and put it through that loop to hold that side, and then maybe we shoot a self-tapper or something in that hole there to attach this side. And then obviously that nipple there goes up to the spout there, and then the overflow on the other side. So I think that might do it. I want to give that a shot. Got all that stuff plumbed for now. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Got to replace that cap because it failed the test. It leaks down to like 9-ish pounds or so, so we'll warranty that out. Freaking new Chinese parts. Anyway, everything else looks pretty good. I'm going to leave all this for now. Now, the chef's kiss. You're not going to believe this. I found a set of bumpers for this car for next to nothing, about a half a mile from where I work. Kid you not. So I'm at work the other day, and someone asked to talk to me, or the owner of the Buick that was parked outside, because I'm driving the car almost every day. Get to talking with this guy, and he has a 62 that's cleaned up, mostly original. It's a special. It's not a Skylark, but same basic principle. Anyway, he had multiple cars and multiple parts, and he ended up throwing a bunch of stuff away because people just weren't buying the stuff. They're kind of uncommon. I don't know if I call it rare, but anyway, you gotta find the one guy who's looking for it, i.e. me. Anyway, so he's asking me if I need parts for this thing. I said, absolutely, I'm looking for bumpers and a couple other odds and ends. He tells me to come by, and we'll look and see what he's got. Sure enough, pair of 62 only bumpers. They're driver quality, they're not like mint, but they're perfect for this thing. Anyway, super appreciative of that guy. His name was Keith, so thank you to Keith if you're watching. I'm gonna see if I can't get these thrown on. Man, even for just a cheapo, random find, scuffed up, pulled on bumper, that thing really helps pull the nose of this thing together. Absolutely. Oh my god, so much better. So we'll have to body work some more of that later, but for now it's on there. Now I'm gonna go fight with the backside. Alright, well welcome to Under the Car, where we're gonna try to solve some of these pesky transmission leaks. You can see this thing is pretty well wet underneath here. So, for those of you who don't know, and I didn't know, this is a 2-speed transmission, but more interestingly, it's a Buick only, 3-year only transmission. This is what they call a dual path, because it's 2-speed. Makes sense?
This glass has ice cubes in it.
Yes, that's what happens when water gets cold.
So, I've never seen a transmission pan quite like this. Looks like it just has the one center bolt, and then it appears to have just an O-ring style gasket that keeps the pan sealed. So that's pretty far ahead of its time. That's pretty cool. We're gonna try to get that gasket replaced. I did find one. If it ends up being a good product, I will share my information where I got it. And then, it looks like the speedo cable is leaking too. I can't remember if those have an O-ring in there or not. I'm gonna try to pull it apart. If there is an O-ring, I might try to replace it. I picked up an assortment, and if there isn't, I'll just try to maybe snug it up, see if that's all we can do there. I'll try to get you guys in here as best we can here. Oh, that wasn't very tight. If it's not obvious to you, I've never worked on this transmission before or anything like it, so you're gonna be learning here with me. Oh, here it is. While we're waiting for the pan to drip dry, I went ahead and unthreaded the speedo cable out of the trans. The nut was kind of loose, but it wasn't like, you know, falling off. So I looked up in there. There's some schmutz in there. I might try to get out. You can kind of see. And I don't see any place for an O-ring or a gasket or anything like that. So I'm probably going to end up cleaning all this stuff up on both sides. Maybe snug it up a little bit. I may even throw some ATF RTV. Yes, they make that. Specific RTF. Specific RTV for transmission fluid. So I might throw some of that in there on the threads maybe and snug it up a little more. See if that does the job. Alright, here's our pan. First thing you might notice is there's this pink straw hanging out in here.
What the? How long has that been there?
I don't know if that's supposed to be like a pickup tube or what that's supposed to be. And in other news, there's a pile of clutch material in here and a couple of small specks of stuff, so that's pretty awesome. But, you know, other than everything, it looks just fine. I'm going to get all this cleaned up here in just a minute. You can kind of see there's some material in there. But it's a 64-year-old transmission that's had very little attention over its life, so what do we really expect here? So, I'm going to get all this cleaned up and then try to figure out what the heck that straw is. And then you can see the O-ring seal in here. Wow. That is pretty wild. You can see it's got a channel in there where it meets the transmission bottom. Pretty wild. I don't think I've seen anything like that before. Not from something in the 60s. So that is pretty cool. We'll have to maybe clean that up a bit and compare it to hopefully the new one that's in good shape. Alright, got our pan all cleaned up inside and out. Got our old seal sitting up here. And this is the new seal. Still has that little track inside, which corresponds with our old one here. So what I'm going to do is gonna very lightly work it around the edge. You don't want to start it and then slide it to kind of help feed it. You don't want to do that because what that can actually do is actually stretch the new gasket. So that by the time you work it all the way around the edge, you'll end up with a wrinkle. You'll end up with extra material than what's needed. So I'm gonna start putting this on nice and easy, and then we'll go from there. So I've got the filter pulled out here. I was gonna pull it out and rinse it. As you can kind of see, apparently there's something growing in it. So I'm gonna get in here with my pick. Oh God.
Oh my God!
Look at all that. Gross.
Gross!
Are you kidding me?
Oh, you've got to be kidding me!
Try to get that all flushed out before I put this back in there, because God knows there's not one of these out there. So, side quest acquired. While I was playing around down in here, managed to find our kickdown for high gear or passing gear. So you'll notice if I push on this lever up here, actuates that arm over there, and it'll push on that little valve or actuator, whatever you want to call it, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, huh, that's a lot of play, and it like stops. So I'm thinking, huh, that would surprise me if that was all the throttle travel I was getting off the carb. So we probably never had passing gear all this time. So I thought I would give it a little more push, and there's one, and then if you push a little more, it'll push totally collapsed. So yeah, we never had any of that. So I'm not surprised, but let me show you what's going on up top. So here's our throttle linkage, here's our kick down lever for the transmission. You'll then notice if I open the carb to full throttle, and then if I can do this one-handed here. So carb wide open, I take my transmission lever. All that's loose travel. Haven't even touched the solenoid yet, or the actuator yet. That's all the way on the solenoid. There's one, there's two. 1, 2. Yeah, all of this is loose slop. So we've never had passing gear. So I'm gonna try to get that fixed over here. So you can kind of see where I crudely marked this adjuster collar sleeve thing. So I'm gonna try to cut it on this side, the front side of that line. That should give us enough, or take off enough threads to take up some of that slack, hopefully. So because I'm an idiot, I probably wrecked this piece.
Idiot!
So I figured this length had more threads in it to thread onto the rod there on the car. But if you look, that's all the threads there is about 3/4 of that distance. So I cut this off and realized, oh, there's no more threads. So then I had to cut the same length out of the existing rod here. So now what I have to try to do is try to tack these two ends together, and hopefully it'll weld, because I don't know what these are. We're flying by the seat of our pants on this one. Let's see what we can't get screwed up here.
Congratulations, another one of your genius plans has backfired on you.
And just like that, one booger weld back together. And just like that, one booger welded back together. Oopsie doodle, my bad. Cut them too short, never to be seen again. Oddball, hen's teeth parts, repaired. So now you see when we hit the throttle, open, 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 open. I know it's hard to hear it and see it, but it is hitting the solenoid. Just enough. Perfect. Alright, got our filter all cleaned up here. If you notice, there's a giant O-ring that helps hold that in place. This thing is pretty rock solid. I mean, it's got a little bit of squish to it left, but not much.
I shall call him Squishy, and he shall be mine, and he shall be my Squishy.
So I'm probably going to put just a layer of Permatex automatic transmission RTV. If you're playing along at home, part number 81180 Permatex. I'm going to put just a film around the O-ring here just to help kind of seal it when I put it back up in the pan. Alright, obviously the pan and everything is back on. I chased that O-ring around the pan for probably an hour and a half or 2 hours, just sliding around and around and around and around and around.
I'm gonna go home, chase myself around the room, play hard to get.
I don't know if the material was just too springy or too tight, or maybe the length was too short. I don't know what the problem was, but that sucked. So it's probably got about 4.5-ish quarts in it now. I'm gonna get it fired up, let it warm up. Car's halfway level, still got it on the jack a little bit. Gonna see how we look. No leaks yet, looks good. In case anyone's interested, this is where I got the transmission pan seal. Oldbuickparts.com. I actually found this one on eBay, but I'm sure they have their own website.
Why are you going to the airport? Flying somewhere?
How'd you guess?
Apparently. So, Anyway, for better or for worse, it was the correct gasket, but I don't know, like I say, if it was too short, there wasn't enough circumference of the seal to fit around the pan. But anyway, I'll check out some other stuff, because a crappy or not as good gasket is better than no gasket at all. So anyway, when I call that done, I already ran it, topped off the fluid. We'll check it again tomorrow when I go to work. Make sure that's all good to go. So while I was working on the Buick this last time, I asked the wife what she would like to see next on the car. And of course she wants it to look nice, and can you really blame her? Anyway, so you can kind of see where I sort of just hit this real lightly with just the red Scotch pad. And obviously I haven't been in here yet, but you can kind of see what we're going for. We're gonna get this scuff down, finish getting all this taped off here, shoot some primer, shoot some color, see how we do. Alright, so as you can see, I got the car in the drying booth, which i.e. is, windows down from being masked, blanketed over the top to keep as much heat in as possible, and, sitting in the sun.
Warming up! The sun is warming up!
So hopefully this will give us enough time to get it warmed up a little bit in there. I did get the color sprayed on it last night, but it was getting too cool and too dark to really see or film, so anyway, that'll be a surprise here in just a minute. Meanwhile, while this is going on, we're still in the middle of the engine rebuild video of the Jeep, so be sure to see that video. Should be in the top corner when that video is ready to go. So here's our door panels that came with the Buick. You can see they're mostly in pretty good shape, pretty well complete, but they're filthy. They need cleaned and scrubbed and everything else to try to get these looking a little bit better. So I'm gonna start working on that, get them blown off, cleaned up. There you go, before and after. It's not perfect, but it looks a whole heck of a lot better than it did. And that's what we're going for. This car is never going to be perfect, so this is plenty good for what we're going for. I am going to wait for this to dry out a little bit, the carpet area, because I did spray it pretty heavily with the cleaner. And I'm going to try to shoot some matte black fabric spray paint in there, try to bring it back a little bit, because you can tell it's pretty faded and dingy, and yeah. So I pulled the trim off around the inside of the windshield, and you can see just how bad this thing is in here. Like if you look down here, you can quite literally see daylight coming out of the windshield there. So there is glue and schmoo and all sorts of caulk and something. Someone's been in here before, obviously. So I guess we're gonna give up and make an attempt at replacing this windshield. Thank God we have that parts car over there, that $800 glass. Hopefully we get that glass out of there safely. So let's give it a shot. There it is, it's out. It's literally just sitting there, hopes and dreams. So I guess now we turn it back to the main car. You can even see how nice our door panels came out there. Out here sitting in the sun. They're a little tacky yet, but man, they look pretty good compared to what they used to look like. Can't argue with that. What you're watching me do here is actually trying to separate the trim from the glue that someone had used to keep the windshield in place. Well, it's out. Oofda.
I got a good name for this car. Rusty.
She'll buff out.
Yeah, I gotta start getting all this cleaned out. I really don't have any time to be messing with this, but we're committed now. Let's get into it. Alright, rest reformer is drying on there right now. You can see we're basically missing the whole center third of the bottom rail where the windshield sits in there. Top doesn't look too bad, a little chewy on the driver's side, but we're gonna let that set up and go get some urethane and freaking 3M super weld glue this thing in there. Okay, there you go. Got the windshield frame cut out of that car. Got it laying over here in our car. You kind of see just kind of setting in place there what it should look like when it's all done. Something like that. Obviously needs trimmed, needs welded, needs sealed. Let's work on that. All right, another day wasted. Here we are. Got the frame cleaned up and shot again with rust reformer. Here's our patch. Again, yes, weld's ugly as sin.
This is embarrassing.
Tell me about it. I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do to make it any better. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's the Amazon Chinese welder. I don't know if the metal is too thin. I don't know. Anyway, it's definitely structural. It's not gonna fall out. So I'm going to let the rust reformer do its thing and get everything sealed up, and then coat it with a skim of JB Weld, and I should be good to go. I really wasn't expecting to do this today, but here we are. Had to be done, so at least we got it done now. Seal is broken. Here we go. We're doing it. Doing the thing.
Oh, goody.
Man, look at that.
My ideas always work. I'm gifted.
The shmoo is still a little tacky, but so much nicer. That glass instead of that glass. So, while this is in the paint booth, we're gonna move over to my other paint booth and get all the inside trim around the windshield cleaned up and shot. Alright, had to move this party inside because it got too dark and too cold outside to shoot paint. So here we are in the non-lit side of the garage because the Jeep's still torn apart for the engine swap video. Seriously, check that video out. Anyway, so pretty crude what we have going here. We got all the panels ready to go. I just shot a layer of black on these to get those going. Gonna go ahead and do the cover for the gauges as well. I got some other stuff. You can see some of the other parts hanging out in there getting warmed up in this old box I had laying around. So like I say, it's cold. It's probably just above freezing right now. So yeah, we're gonna keep on going. So here I was playing with the choke because it's cold outside here in Idaho now, and sure enough, the heater cores decided to let loose. So that's pretty cool. Normally I'd be pretty well screwed, but thankfully my parts car had all that crap in there for me. So we're gonna see if we can get that one cleaned up and throw it in the car. Hey guys, I want just a second of your time. We've had some donations to the channel, so I wanted to give a shout out to those guys. A good buddy of mine, supporter of the channel, went ahead and sponsored me an engine gasket set here for the little 215 here in the Buick. So super appreciate him. We are going to keep his information private though, because that's what he would like me to do. So we're going to do that for him, but greatly appreciate him. And then another supporter of the channel sponsored us this really schwanky, nice leather wrapped steering wheel. Obviously it is much better than the crap that's in the Buick right now. That goofy little 8-inch, you know, easy to drive with handcuffs steering wheel. I'm not sure what the brand on this one is. Oh, it's Grant. I know it's kind of hard to see there, but probably a pretty old school unit. This thing is pretty freaking sweet.
Sweet.
He sponsored that for us. His name is Hook. Yes, there's a story behind his name. Yes, his name is Hook. No, I'm not going to tell you the story because it's not my story to tell. But greatly appreciate both these guys and helping sponsor my car problem that I have, my addiction. So if you guys would like to contribute as well, you're more than welcome to. Hit me up, lsjessgarage1@gmail.com. If you guys feel so inclined as to help in some way, I would obviously greatly appreciate it, but don't feel obligated. Anyway, let's get back to it. All right. Remember how I said months ago that this thing was awful and needed to go? This ugly, like 10-inch steering wheel, gotta go. Well, freaking sweet Grant wheel was sponsored to us, given to us, so we are absolutely going to throw this thing on because priorities in life, you know. Never mind things like the leaky heater core and whatnot. Anyway, I'm going to get this pulled off and try to get this adapted on there and see how it looks. All right, what do you think?
How do you feel about that one?
It looks nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty sweet. It looks awesome. It's incredible.
Better or worse? Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. It's a little low, no tilt in this thing, but it's much better than it was before, I think. Again, huge thank you to Hook who sponsored that for us. Much appreciated. Pretty sure I found the source of our bucking and surging under load. And then here's the bowl here. Yeah, you can see how much muck and goop and schmoo is all in there. It's pretty bad. So I'm gonna try to get all this crap cleaned out and blown out, see if we can't go again. All right, here we go, guys. I'm actually on location where I'm working. Yes, it's very bright blue. No, it didn't match the cap at all for what I wanted. It was supposed to be much darker, but for some reason it came out super light blue, but it's got a lot of flake in it, if you can kind of see it there. So we'll end up reshooting that at some point, but I wanted to kind of give you guys an update as to how we did here. I didn't show it, but I also shot the dash. Got it cleaned up a little bit. Over there to the other side of the other door there. Other than that, pretty much the same, just a little touch up mechanically and cosmetically inside and out. There's a shot of our glass. Yes, it's got one crack in it, but it's on the inside, and this thing is freaking watertight. The other day I've actually seen water just pile up in here in that track, beat up, so I know it's not getting inside, so that's always good. So it just kind of worked out this way that just a couple of days after I got the windshield in, hey, we got some rain. You can see how much water is being caught in that channel. But what that means is when you come inside, bone frickin' dry. Not one drop in the toe boards, on the floor, whatever. So
I'm a genius.
So not a paid promotion or anything, but I ended up using that 3M window weld stuff, and it seems like it really worked well. So that's super awesome to get that dried in there. Obviously we haven't put the trim back on it yet, but that's just gonna have to be a later time when, you know, when it's not wet and cold in Idaho. So that'll probably be a springtime thing. If you remember, the old glass was split right here into the center to about there, just below the the bottom of the mirror on the inside, and it had two big cracks, one going that way, one going that way, and then that whole corner was busted out. I could push that out with my hand if I so chose. And then we got those super sweet bumpers, front and the rear. All right, guys, that wraps us up this time on the Skylark. Well, again, want to thank our parts sponsors for helping out, and then want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.